Welcome to A&A. My name is Dave Sleet. I am joined by our CEO, Siobhan Crosby. And this evening, we are absolutely delighted to be able to introduce you all to two of the top psychological professionals in the world at the moment. Professor Dryden and Professor Irvin Yalom. Gentlemen, we are very grateful for your time this evening, and we look forward to hearing your conversation over the next few minutes. Siobhan?
And I would just like to add to the two of you, on behalf of A&A, all our members and the therapeutic world. This is an incredible thing for the therapeutic world in the UK, and I know that everybody's going to be amazed to see the two of you on screen having a chat between each other, and I cannot thank you enough, both of you, for helping us out here. So thank you very much. So over to you both. Wendy, I guess I'll leave it for you to take it away with Irvin.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. Good evening, Irvin. How are you?
I'm fine. Good afternoon here.
Good afternoon, right. Okay, so I'd like to start by saying that I may well be one of the few people in the world to have bought each edition of the Theory and Practice of Group Psychotherapy. All 5 of them. An amazing book. One of the best books that I've ever read in the field of group psychotherapy. I just wanted to say that.
I'm working on the 6th edition, so you'll have another one then.
You're working on the 6th? Oh, listen, that has just made my day. Fantastic.
We're
Excellent.
Almost finished.
Okay, fantastic. So I'd like to start by asking you about your legacy, if that's okay.
Sure.
What would you like to leave behind for people entering into the field of psychotherapy? What kind of legacy do you think you would like to leave for them coming behind?
Well, my legacy, of course, is in the books I've written. I've been a writer as well as a practitioner since almost the beginning of my career. I've been very intent on working with relationships, working with the interpersonal relationships between myself and my patients, or working with interpersonal relationships within the group. I've taken more of an interpersonal approach to group work and to individual work than perhaps is commonly seen in the UK. I spent a year in London, my first year abroad, when I was writing the first edition of the book. I worked at the Tavistock Clinic.
Oh, right.
Yeah, John Bowlby and I switched offices. He took my office at Stanford. I took his.
Oh, right.
And so in group therapy and in individual therapy too, I'm very much focused on the relationship between myself and the client who works with me. So I work very much from an interpersonal basis, and I work very close on empathy. I look very much too at existential issues when they seem apparent and important in that. That was the first wave of my interest, was in group therapy and interpersonal therapy, and then later I began to focus much more on an existential approach. So those have been the two major thrusts of my work and my writing. So I'd like to be remembered for both of those.
Right. And what do you think of the movement? I would call it a tradition known as cognitive behavior therapy. What are your views on CBT?
I don't have strong feelings about that. I've never been very interested in it. I have known people who've been very much helped by it. There are a number of people in my own clinic at Stanford that do CBT, but I just work in an entirely different approach.
Mm.
There's some patients who will work better in that approach, and there are other people who work much better in the kind of interpersonal approach that I take. So
Right.
it's not been of interest in me. And in my field too, I've not worked with psychotic patients and not worked with the chemical approaches to that. That's a choice that I made very early in my career.
So you're a psychiatrist who doesn't prescribe much then?
I haven't prescribed medication in 15 years.
Really? What's your view on the role of medication in psychotherapy?
Well, my view of medication is fairly limited. I do nothing with medication. Sometimes I think it's useful for patients to have some antidepressant or anti-anxiety drugs as a way of helping them work in therapy.
Right.
Yes. And there'll be some breakthroughs. There is a big breakthrough reported yesterday in terms of a new medication for postpartum depression.
Right.
Which is all over the television here yesterday. So I don't look down on medication, but again, it's not the interest that I've taken.
Right.
I'm a writer. I'm more interested in philosophical approaches. So it's not been the mode that I've taken.
I was going to ask you about your interests in philosophy. Recently, there's been quite a rekindling of interest in Stoic philosophy. Is Stoic philosophy of interest to you at all?
Yes, it's of interest to me. I think it's an important approach to philosophy. Maybe especially for older people my age. I was just reading a book last week called Travels with Epicurus.
Right.
Taking a look at the Greeks and how they deal with old age in the latter part of their life and how
Right.
Epicurus comes to that. So I have a lot of interest in Stoic philosophy and Marcus Aurelius. So yes, all that's been of interest to me. I didn't take any philosophy at all as a student. I took a straight pre-medical course and went to medical school. And only after that, once I started teaching at Stanford in psychiatry, did I think it's about time for me to get an education in philosophy. And so I began my interest in philosophy quite late, but first becoming very interested in the Greek Stoics and in the existential thinkers and in Nietzsche. I wrote a novel about Nietzsche.
Yes, indeed.
A novel about Schopenhauer, but these
Yeah.
are people who interested me a great deal.
Yes. So did you pursue your studies in philosophy formally, or were you sort of self-guided?
No, I went to some of my friends at Stanford in the philosophy department and sat in on their course.
Oh, right. You got free education.
Being about 30 years older than anyone else in the course.
Did you take examinations or
No, I never
no?
did.
Okay. So looking to the future, what are your aims and aspirations for the future?
Well, I'm 78 years old now, and
You're 78.
70. I'm sorry, I'm 87.
Well, listen.
I would like to be.
You could certainly pass for 78. I can tell you.
No, I'm 87. I'm very old at this part, and of course, old age is on my mind all the time. I'm coming to the end of my work in the field. I'm at the stage of thinking about retirement, of not seeing patients any longer, and that's a very sad matter for me.
Sure.
I love my work.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't think I should continue doing ongoing practice. In fact, I've just written a story which I've entitled My Last Patient, the last ongoing patient that I've worked with. It's painful for me to give that up. But when you get to be 87, the great majority of us at that age do have difficulties in memory. And I don't feel I should be practicing longer term therapy. I see patients who call me, they want to have a session or two with me, and they worked with me for a year or two many years ago, and I can't remember them. Fortunately, I take very, very careful long notes about each session, so I can go back and look at that. But my memory is definitely definitely somewhat compromised now, and it's painful for me to think about retirement.
No, I understand that.
I love doing my therapy. It's a great privilege to be invited into the lives of so many people. So I've had a very privileged profession.
Mm. On your travels, have you been asked to consult very briefly with people who might said, well, look, you know, I'll never have another opportunity to talk with you. Will you just spend an hour with me? I've got a problem that I would like to discuss with you. Have you ever had that experience?
Oh, very often. People will call me for an hour, and I say, well, I'll meet with you for an hour. I do what I can for that person, and at the same time, I'll often give them a referral of some good therapists that I know that might be.
And do people find that helpful to be, you know, to be able to consult with you for an hour?
Yes. Yes. Often I can do a great deal in an hour.
See, this is your new career, Irvin, as a single session therapist.
Well, I'm just trying to write a story about a patient I saw quite recently, a person who was very angry with their husband for being a glutton and eating a whole pie that was due for some company the following night. They had a big argument, and the husband got so angry that he locked the bedroom door. Sleep somewhere else. Goes up in the morning to get her clothes for work, and she can't get in the door. And at this point, her husband had died during the night.
Oh wow!
And so she was in terrible pain because of that, and had a session. So I did what I could. I worked a whole lot with bereavement. Talked about the anger that she had towards her husband for a number of reasons, and how that was getting in the way of. I'm sorry. Getting in the way for in terms of their work. So I talked to her about the idea of bereavement, the idea that usually a year you have to go through at least a year cycle of the important holidays, of the first Christmas without your husband, the first birthday, wedding anniversary, and go through that, and then also talk to her about the anger and fact that the anger that she had was well founded, but she was destroying herself because somehow she was angry and felt that had something to do with her husband's death. So that talk with me was quite useful for her. I know that because I referred her to someone else who worked with her for a few weeks after that, who told me about how useful that initial intervention had been. So I try to do something in 1 hour with people that can be helpful to them.
And I'm sure that the people who spend the time with you in these events that are coming up would be as delighted.
Okay.
Would be as delighted and as enthralled as I have been speaking to you. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Gentlemen, just being able to sit and watch your conversation is phenomenal. We feel privileged.
I can't stop smiling. I've read books from when I studied way back in 2098 to 99 to year 2000, 2001, 2002. I read your books, both of you. So, you know, it's for me going through cancer last year and then sitting here talking to you two is a bit mind-blowing for me, because I can't quite believe I'm sitting here listening to the two of you chat away, and I feel a little bit, my face is a little bit, when I've had too much to drink, I can't stop smiling and grinning. So I cannot appreciate enough what you've done for us tonight, and I really do. I just can't say enough. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I felt a similar way. I could have loved to have had that conversation go on and on and on. I felt like it was with someone I wanted to spend some time with.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
Good.
I think being able to bring both giants in their field together is something that A&A will go down in A&A history. And I hope for both of you that the contact will remain in place. I hope that you both have the opportunity to carry on speaking and spending time together and sharing your own experiences of the professions that you've both enjoyed. I am truly, what's the best word, I think, inspired ahead of the events in April, where Irvin will be speaking to the audience in Birmingham on the 18th, to the audience in Edinburgh on the 26th, and then to London on the 30th.
These probably will be the last talks I give. I'm getting to the point where I am ready to retire. So they may be my farewell addresses.
And for us, that's a huge privilege to be able to bring that to the UK.
That is.
I am so looking forward to being able to be part of that experience. I'm sure the audience on those 3 dates will truly appreciate what those 3 dates mean, not only for them as individuals on their own journeys, but also for you as those potentially those last addresses to the UK. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To everybody else, all we can say is your tickets are waiting for you. All you need to do is book your place. The website, www.ana.co.uk.
Thank you both very, very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's been a great pleasure.
And to everyone, have a very peaceful and happy evening.